In the last lecture, we finished off on our Google Analytics setup and installation part of the audit checklist. The last lecture especially was really about adding in Google Analytics annotations. Now, I've taken a couple of minutes to add all these in for my spikes in traffic. And what you can see here is if I open them up, all of these spikes were driven really by email to free content that I was giving out. Those were really the notes for this course, the SEO checklist, YouTube marketing here, WordPress here, and then finally the Facebook marketing, all the notes there. If you had any doubt that email was not a huge driver of traffic, here's the evidence right now. You can see it's really been a massive driver of traffic for me. That is why collecting email addresses is so important, and really setting up your site to collect email addresses as well. So reviewing the email marketing section of this course is essential if you haven't done already, because here's the proof. It's really a big driver of traffic. All right, with that said, let us move on. In this lecture, we're really moving into the audience tab of Google Analytics. So up to now, we've really just been going through the setup. We've gone into the admin section here. We've added in the dashboard, but now what we want to do, and I'll just close some of these other ones down, is come into the sidebar in Google Analytics and come into the audience tab here. You can see that when you click this, it really opens up a whole set of reports here that are really all focused on your audience. And I think this is actually a great place to start your audit and your analytics experience. I think it's smart the way Google Analytics have put this at the top, because it forces you to think about not just the numbers, but who actually are the people that are coming to your website. This is a great opportunity to fill out your buyer persona further. Now, what we want to do in this lecture in particular is focus on some of the demographic reports. We're going to look at age, gender, and interests of your visitors, and in particular, we're going to answer these questions here. So, what is the age and gender of your best converting customer? I'm going to show you how to find that. And what are the categories of interest your customers have or your visitors have? That can open up opportunities for upsells and cross-sells. What else are your visitors interested? Especially if you don't have products yet, this can be a great really source of data. Okay, so we're looking at the age, gender, and interest reports. We'll have a quick look at the behavior reports as well. But what you can do now at the start of the lecture is maybe pause this, come into demographics, and we can start by really looking at age here. So what I can see, and maybe it's actually a little bit easier to see it in the overview here because there's a bar chart, is I can see a lot of the visitors to my website are between the ages of 25 to 34. Now this is in line with the buyer persona that I really set up at the start of the course. 25 to 34 is what I really thought they would be, especially around the 30 mark is what I was thinking. The same age as me, essentially. My buyer persona is really me. That's who I thought it would be. And I could see that the data is telling me that I was correct in my assumption there. Also, a good percentage of people, though, a little bit older than that, which is actually a bit of a surprise to me. But I can see the bulk of people are between 25 and 44, which is really, really interesting to see. This is data that I can really dig into. Now, some of the data in this report might have been removed. So the information about our visitors that we're seeing here might be about 60 or 70% of our visitors in total. Some of the data is removed for privacy reasons. You can read more about it there. So this isn't every single visitor, but it is a very good average of all the visitors, and that is out there, and it's a real good indication of the age of your visitors. So what I could do is maybe come into the analytics here. What is the age range of your best converting customer? And so now we've looked at the age range of our visitors, but if we want to really find out who has actually completed our goals, that's a bit of a different question. So what we can do is now we're looking at the data for just people who have visited our website But what I want to look at now is actually those visitors who have actually completed the action on the goal that I wanted them to. So I'm going to click on add segments in here, and I'm going to click on converters. So these are is going to show me the age and the demographics of people who have completed the actions. And what you can see here is it's a bit of a different view. Now when I look at the converters, these are the people who have converted, who have signed up to my email list. I can see that actually it's very 50-50 between the 25-34 and the 35-44, where I would have thought just by looking at my visitors that actually this is where I really need to be. But it looks like these guys, a little bit older, are a lot more serious about really maybe signing up to the email list, maybe taking the course. So that's very interesting for me to see. So once again, if you want to add in the information about your converters to see a perspective on them side by side with just your visitors, you just go to add segments, add in the converters. Now I will say that you will have to have your goals set up to get this data and set up for a little bit of time so that they can really compare. So what I'm going to note down here is age range, and I can just say 25 to 34, and what is it here, 35 to 44, same for converters. Now I can really put this in a bit of a better language myself, but you get the idea. You really just want to put in and note down the age range there, and what you're really noticing between not just your visitors but also people who have converted and completed your action on the site. Now coming back, we've got the age range there. Let us look at the gender now. So I can see that that is pretty standard. The males for the visitors and the converters are pretty much the same. So that doesn't really surprise me. The buyer persona for me was a man. So this is interesting that assumption has been confirmed, and also interesting to see that even men between this age and this age, there's really no difference. They're still either taking action or not taking action. It's not like the females are converting much more than the males are. That's really the point that I was trying to figure out there. Okay, so males for both. Now I'm going to tidy up these notes a little bit myself so I really make sense. You know, you could do the same thing, but essentially you just want to look at these reports and note them down. Now that we have looked at the age and gender, really the overview report's probably the best place to look at those. Let us come down and we're going to look at the interest reports, and we can look at really the overview again. Now inside of this report, we really have the interests here, we have the affinity categories, and we have the in-market segments. Now still I have this converters segment showing, so these are the converters and these are just the visitors, and I can see side by side whether the visitors and converters are interested in the same thing. So I can see that a lot of people are technophiles, shutterbugs, that means they like cameras, movie lovers, TV lovers. A lot of this is quite general, so let us move further down to see if there's any more interesting things here. The in-market segment, employment is a key interest of these people. I am teaching a course here, and so maybe I can really, in my sales copy and my sales video, that I can really focus on employment and show how my material can help them get jobs, especially jobs in business technology, web services, web design and web development, marketing services. So you can see how some of this information can help you maybe improve your sales points, really the benefits you're aiming at, and also maybe some of the opportunities where you could advertise your business. Employment, maybe talking about LinkedIn, maybe going to conferences and events centered around that, showing my products or engaging with people there. So that's quite interesting to see, and also these are related industries that maybe you could network into to promote your products. So that is probably the most beneficial one in terms of what I'm looking at here, the in-market segment. And you can see that that's really the same for people visiting the site and also people who are actually converting and signing up to my mailing list. So no major differences there. So I'm going to note down some of these things there. I'll come back and really look at the actions at the very end when I've documented all the insights. But that really wraps up our age, gender, interest reports. Let us look quickly at the behavior report. This is down here, and you can really look at new and returning visitor. And what I can see here, I'm actually going to remove this segment because it's a little bit confusing to look at. I'm going to remove this segment, and what I can see that a lot of the people coming to the site are just a new visitor. Meaning that not so many people are returning to the site again and again. So that is definitely something that I will want to work on. I really want to get more people returning to the site again and again. I think people will once the course launches and people are visiting the notes, etc. But I've made contact with these people. A lot of them I've collected their emails, and I want to make sure that I don't lose contact with them because they definitely got some value out of coming to the site. And so that's something good to maybe note down as well. Look, they've come to the site. That's great. They're males. They're in that age bracket. They're interested in employment. But I want to make sure that they haven't, they haven't just come and said this is not a place to really help me with my goals. And so I really should keep an eye out for that as well. Keep an eye on this to get people returning to the site because, as they always say, it's easier to keep a customer than to win a customer. So I'm going to note down some of these things. My buyer persona really matches up with what I intended. I can see definitely some of the things that they're interested in there, and most of them have only visited just one time. So I'd be keen to get those people back. I'm going to note these down, and then in the next lecture we're going to be moving on to the geo report, where we'll be looking at language and location. This will help you give more perspective on who your website visitors are and who also are those people who signed up to your mailing list. So I'll see you in the next lecture. We're still looking at our audience.